Oh my gosh, good afternoon, Crime Crunchies. Thank you so much for joining me here today. My name is Courtney C., and I am your host of Crime Crunchies. I am a 27-year career, I guess, expert executive in media, and I'm so excited to have Crime Crunchies with everybody now and be able to broadcast everything true crime. So I'm in the Smoky Mountains. So I'm outdoors and I don't know if people are going to be coming around. I'm just in nature and I'm really, really enjoying my time. I have a little one who lives with me and he is on spring break. So he's in there right now and being a good boy. So we're just going to hang out together, but I haven't been live in a few days because I was getting ready for this trip. We're going to be here through next week and I'm super excited. I love the Smoky Mountains. This is really my happy place. And I love coming to the Smoky Mountains. So I'm so glad to be able to come to you live today. It's a beautiful Saturday, March 14th. And, you know, it's an important day for me because exactly 1 year ago today, I live in Oklahoma and we had wildfires 1 year ago today. I was holding my brand new 3-day-old granddaughter and my husband calls me and says, there's a fire. There were wildfires. We lived in the woods and our house burned down. So a lot has happened in the last year. I wasn't sure what things were going to look like, but I can say that, after a year, probably have a little bit of PTSD, even with tornadoes and things like that. But today's a really big day. I feel like we've come really, really far from that day. And we were in the middle of watching the wildfires that were going on in California. And I just felt so bad for all those people that were losing their homes in California. And you always sit there and you think, oh my gosh, what would I do if I lost everything? And sure enough, it did happen. And the good news is life goes on and it's just things. We lost one cat, unfortunately. We are kitty people. Lost one kitty. Very sad about that. It's my favorite kitty. And but his name was Monkey, and I got a new monkey, and he's awesome. My husband went and got me a new monkey. So anyway, I digress, but I wanted to just kind of share some of those things. But we do have some updates on Nancy Guthrie. It's day 42. I'm going to be sharing some updates today. But while I've been away, I thought to myself, there has to be other people who are missing, older women. We've learned that it's not, I wouldn't say that it's super common, but it's not uncommon that women over 65, 70, 80 years old can get SA'd. Unfortunately, it happens. And typically it's younger men who do these things. And, some of the updates. So first of all, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a PowerPoint today with everybody, and I'm going to highlight other cases of women who literally disappeared, unsolved cases, just disappeared from their homes. And we'll go through that today. But we also have a Air Force Major General, William, what is his name? William McCasland. And I wanted to say that right. McCasland. General McCasland has disappeared. And I'm going to talk about that as well, because that is very interesting. His history and what he's been involved in. And also some updates, like I said, on Nancy Guthrie. But, specifically looking at these women that have disappeared from their homes, Sheriff Nanos said on day 2, in one of the only press conferences he held, he was specifically asked, is there a threat to the public? And Sheriff Nanos said, no, at this time, there's no threat to the public. And I get it. information changes, so I'm not holding that over his head. But he came out in the last 2 days or so and said, yeah, there could be a threat to the public, and he isn't sure that the person who did this to Nancy Guthrie, if he's not sure that that person won't, I guess, attack again. And that got me thinking about, why would Sheriff Nanos think that this person could do it again? And specifically, Sheriff Nanos has come out and said that we knew pretty much immediately why this person targeted Nancy. And we have to remember that there is a mixed biological evidence sample that is mixed, and they're having trouble separating it out to get a profile for the suspect. But that really makes me think that this could have been SA. If they went in and they knew immediately what happened, there would be signs that there had been SA for Nancy Guthrie. And unfortunately, if the sheriff is saying that they know why she was targeted and that this person could do it again, that makes me think that maybe this person was violent in that way. And again, this is all speculation. We're all speculating. There still is we're not any really further closer to the situation and why it could have happened. But I do think it's interesting that the FBI showed up this week to the restaurant where Savannah filmed that segment for Today with her mother and her sister. I believe it's called El Charo. And the FBI has been questioning for over multiple days the employees who work there, talking about that day that the filming occurred. Was there anybody who was acting particularly starstruck with Savannah or Nancy? Was there anybody who was acting out of character? Was there anybody who was trying to get a selfie, phone numbers? Because if somebody got that idea, and again, we're not exactly sure why, but let's just say that somebody saw Savannah sitting at that table with Annie and a film crew and her mother, Nancy, and they could have gotten an idea. Savannah, she's got money. She's from New York. This is a Today Show. This is huge. This is her mother. Her mother can't fight back. They could have seen that and started drumming up the idea of, I could just take Nancy and ask for ransom and get money, not knowing that something was going to go awry with Nancy and that she wasn't, there could be no proof of life because Nancy passed during the experience. So again, we're all over the place with speculation. And unfortunately, until they have a suspect, and if the suspect talks or they're able to build evidence, I'm hoping that we get answers, because, I've gone down rabbit holes on, targeted abduction, ransom, SA, things like that, robbery gone wrong. And I still don't know. I still don't know what happened. And none of us do. So lots of speculation, but let's take a look at, and I'm outside, so I am having some trouble seeing. All right, so let's take a look at some updates. All right, let me get this shared. We'll take a look at some videos together. Okay, very good. All right, so let's take a look at this. Here's some, this is from the Today Show, and they're going to talk. Sheriff Nanos has only been giving interviews to NBC and the TV station where Savannah Guthrie worked. He's not been giving interviews to anyone else. So I think that that's probably obviously because of Savannah, but let's take a look at this and see what's going on.
Disappearance continues. Over the last week, so many people still showing up and showing their support for Savannah.
I've watched the Today Show for many years, and you become family.
We're not going to stop praying until we get an answer, and some closure.
Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos telling us they're still working to identify that masked man at Nancy's home.
Do you think that this suspect could strike again, whoever did this?
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, criminal minds are criminal minds.
Well, he didn't disclose it. The sheriff says investigators do have a theory for a motive.
We believe we know why he did this, and we believe that it was targeted, but we're not 100% sure of that. And so it'd be silly to tell people, yeah, don't worry about it. You're not his target. No, you could be.
He says investigators are still actively working their leads, including that unknown DNA.
Is there still hope that this mixed DNA will be able to be identified?
Absolutely. That's going to get us to somebody, we hope.
Nanos also confirmed investigators have been looking into a potential internet issue or other electrical disruption the night of the abduction.
There was a timeline when things went offline. So we're looking into that. Why did that occur? We check with our power companies. We check with others in the neighborhood.
And that's beyond just the fact that the suspect took the camera off.
Correct.
As the investigation goes on, an incredible outpouring of love for the Guthrie family.
It says, Nancy, all of us are praying for you to come home now.
Tucson artist Donna Prius, who goes by the name Pinky, has been leaving these canvas paintings outside Nancy's home.
Something they can save, something that they read, and I think they'll feel it in their heart. I know Savannah will.
Now, in addition to the sheriff confirming authorities are looking into whether there was that internet or potential electrical issue the night of Nancy's abduction, he said they don't believe that the damaged utility box near Nancy's home is connected. As for what he told us about knowing why the suspect did this, he says they've had a theory from day one. We did press him, but he just would not say what that is. The FBI, for their part, has not commented on any motive. Laura.
Liz, appreciate the update. And as always, if you have any information, it is not too late. It could be helpful. Please call the number on your screen.
All right. So, yes. So the sheriff is saying that he believes that the suspect, I mean, he can't say whether the suspect will strike again or not, but it's very possible if there is a target that matches what he's wanting or looking for, people should just be alert and be vigilant. And again, that makes me kind of think that there could have been an SA situation or a sexual interest in Nancy Guthrie. And again, I don't know. We just don't know. The sheriff can't give us all the information, of course, and we're not going to find out exactly what happened, unfortunately, until somebody is caught. And I really am hoping that does happen. It's very interesting that the FBI went back to the restaurant and is spending so much time at the restaurant where Savannah filmed that today's segment. I believe that one day, one FBI or two FBI folks interviewed workers and employees who were there at the time of the filming. And then the next day, a different FBI agent interviewed people. And what they do is they will ask similar questions, but in a different way to try to probably catch somebody up and see if stories don't stay the same from, person to person. But it's very, very possible that something that was the nexus, that particular segment on TV, somebody who was at the restaurant who was starstruck or got the idea, seeing the connection between Nancy and Savannah, got the idea, or saw it on TV and got the idea and then went with it. So the other thing that I want to talk about before I go into my presentation about the other people who have been missing and are unsolved, Annie's car. So even Brian Enton, who usually stays pretty objective, I mean, and I'm not doing conspiracy theory, but it has to be talked about. It's just weird. It's just really, really weird. So going back to the first week after Nancy was missing, they did take Annie and the son-in-law's vehicle for evidence, put it into evidence, processing the car, which makes sense because that's the last known vehicle that Nancy would have ridden in. Makes sense. Perfect. So time goes on and there's another suspect there that has the Range Rover. The Range Rover is carted away for evidence from the Culvers in Tucson, and that vehicle was in evidence for probably a week and a half, 2 weeks, but has been returned. And that person was no longer detained. They determined that he was not connected. And they even took Nancy's blue Subaru SUV and put that, into evidence, and we're searching it. And apparently, JLR Investigates was at Nancy's home, and a white SUV, white Hyundai, left, and a blue Subaru pulled out of the garage. And JLR thought that the driver was Cameron, the brother. And if that's the case, then the Subaru has been returned to the home, and Cameron potentially drove it somewhere else, and nobody caught them bringing the Subaru back to Nancy's house. But if they brought that Subaru back again, why is the daughter and son-in-law's car still in evidence after it's day 42, and it's been constantly in the process of being returned? Some news organizations that I've looked into actually say it has been returned, but it hasn't. And Chris McDonough of the Interview Room has actually called the impound yard and asked where the vehicle was, and they couldn't answer. But why hasn't that car been returned? The family's been cleared. And I understand, they could have completely tore it apart, removed the seats, sent the seats out to Quantico, ripped everything up, the dashboard to get the black box out of the car. That's fine. But it just seems really odd that they still have that car, and nobody's really giving an answer as far as, is it evidence? If it's being repaired, no one's saying anything. So I don't know. I'm not sure. JLR Investigates has also, some images have come up of, and I'm not sure where this is, but there's a blue trash dumpster, and behind it there's a pallet or a drain or something, and there's a walker, one of those walkers that you sit on, and they're pretty nice. If you're older and you have mobility issues, it's one of those walkers you can push, you can sit on. This walker just showed up in this drone footage. And so not sure what that is, but JLR went behind the daughter and son-in-law's house into a wash because there had been some rain, and found some khaki pants, size 12. So again, the family's been cleared. I am not doing conspiracy theory. I think that they've been through enough, but there's just questions. Hey, historically correct, we've got an update. JLR reported it this morning. The car has showed up at Annie's. Oh, good. Okay. Well, that makes me feel better, because I am very sympathetic to the family. I just have thought that it's just so weird that they hung on to the car. And if anything, I think that it's more of a problem for the sheriff, because he talks out of both sides of his mouth, and things that he says doesn't make sense. So I think it was more of an implication about the sheriff, not the family, but the sheriff. It's like, what's going on? Pants are still there this morning, so they left the pants. Interesting. So again, the family's been cleared. Okay, family's been cleared. I can imagine that they're completely emotionally destroyed. I'm sure that if they're not in therapy, they should be. I hope they are in therapy, because this is going to affect them for years. But, we don't know. We don't know if somebody, apparently there was a blue shirt that they were using with dogs for scent, and the shirt was in the front yard. So it's just kind of been a little sloppy. That's just kind of what and thank you, historically correct. Thank you so much. JLR, I say Brian Etten is the hero that we didn't know we needed, but JLR has done a really, really good job. He's like a dog with a bone. He's on it. And I really appreciate him. This story has people, even on day 42, I figured I'd be moving on, but I did a post and just said, are there other stories, true crime stories that you want to get updates on, like Rex Hewerman, the guy in Arkansas with the daughter that was abducted, and Karen Reed civil case, and Kelsey Fitzsimmons in Massachusetts we could be talking about. And people are like, no, I want to hear about Nancy. It's like, I kind of want to talk about Nancy because this is just nothing adds up. You know, I say the math isn't mathing, and true crimers, we're very logical people. We're critical thinkers. We're problem solvers. And you get these true crimers, you know, they sleuth like crazy. And again, if you're just joining me, I'm not in my usual. I'm in the Smoky Mountains. I'm so happy. I have my little dude is on my grandson, who I'm so happy he gets to live with me. He is my baby angel. He is on spring break. And so I drove with him, just him and me, and we're in the Smoky Mountains. And I'm like, I get to focus on doing some crime crunchies. I'm really excited because I now have memberships. I am a new channel. I would love for you guys to please subscribe. I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. I take this very seriously. I do have 27 years in the media. I'm going to be at CrimeCon, and you know, I'm an empath, and so I want to give it from a perspective, more of an emotional perspective of cause and effect, and you know, why people might be doing what they're doing. And yeah, I just and I really care about people. I want to help people, and I'm probably going to do some stories about some missing kids for NECMAC, etc. So I'm rambling, but thank you. Historically correct. JLR, boots on ground, 12 hours a day for 42 days. I love it. And yeah, he's not afraid. He'll get in his car. He'll go anywhere. He will be there. All right. So let's talk about, I want to talk about this general that's missing. So not going to get crazy, but you know, it doesn't pass the smell test. So retired Major General William McCasland disappeared while his wife was out. Phone and glasses left behind. Retired Air Force General vanishes in 1 hour window from home. Gun and wallet missing, but his phone is there and his glasses. And this guy is physically fit. He had just done like a 60-mile bike ride. He doesn't have cognitive issues. The weird thing about this guy is he has a lot of like top secret clearance when he was active. I think he's retired now, so he doesn't have top secret clearance, but very active in UFO, like disclosure stuff, and has been working with a group of people who are trying to formulate more disclosure. And we've been seeing a little bit more about UAPs and UFOs and things like that coming out. And I'm not sure, you know, what everybody thinks. Tell me in the comments, you know, if you think that we've got visitors from other dimensions. But I think this is very weird. And his wife is even, you know, I think she posted a kind of a sarcastic comment that he's been beamed aboard the mothership, but he's been missing for a while. And the Nancy Guthrie case has kind of sucked up all the airwaves. So let me see if I can play this. I'm sure there'll be an ad. Let's see what we can do.
You know that tower with cameras and the flashing lights in the parking lot of your local store? Yeah, we make that.
Open it. All right, here we go, guys.
Authorities in New Mexico are asking for the public's help in locating a retired Air Force Major General who has been associated with the UFO community. William McCasland has been missing for 2 weeks now. Senior correspondent Claudia Cowan has details tonight. Good evening, Claudia.
Good evening to you, Brett. This mysterious disappearance is drawing attention because of where this top military scientist once worked. Authorities say 68-year-old William Neal McCasland was last seen at his home in Albuquerque on February 27th. They believe the retired Air Force general left his house on foot and then vanished. He left his phone and prescription glasses at his house, but his wallet and a .38 caliber revolver are said to be missing. A statement from the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office says he's an avid hiker, and while there's no sign of foul play, they say it's, quote, unlike Neil to be out of touch from his family and friends for this length of time. And they've issued a silver alert, which in New Mexico applies to missing people over 50 who may have cognitive or medical issues that could put them in danger. Before retiring in 2013, McCasland commanded the research lab at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio, one of the military's most advanced research hubs. The base has long been the subject of speculation and conspiracy theories, claiming debris from the alleged Roswell UFO crash was stored there. But investigators say there's no evidence McCasland's disappearance has anything to do with his work there. And trying to put online rumors to rest, his wife Susan posted on Facebook saying even if there was a connection, quote, with absolutely no sign of him, maybe the best hypothesis is that aliens beamed him up to the mothership. However, no sightings of a mothership hovering above the Sandia Mountains have been reported. Multiple agencies are combing the area where McCasland was last seen. The FBI has also joined the search for this decorated Air Force general who simply walked out his front door there in Albuquerque 2 weeks ago and never came back. Brett?
We'll follow it. Claudia, thank you.
So just bizarre. Sorry about that. I mean, that's just crazy. Is it a coincidence that he happened to, be affiliated with some UFO stuff? Maybe. Did he just want to disappear from his life? Possibly. Just seems really, really odd. And, while I'm focusing on some women who have gone missing, that just shows us that men can too. And and I had asked a question, if people believe that there are UAPs or other people from other star systems. I believe. I cannot imagine that there aren't people that are visiting us or beings that are visiting us. I think that we do. So historically correct said, yes, of course we do. But if you believe as well, and you think that there might be something fishy with General McCasland's disappearance, let me know. Let me know what you think about that. Awesome. All right, so let me go back and let me get into my presentation here. So let's take a look at some locked door vanishing. So these are women who are over, say, 60 that have gone missing. Okay, it has happened, and I'm looking at the last 30 years or so. So these are eerie cases where women disappeared from inside or just outside their home with almost no evidence, belongings left behind, routines interrupted, the haunting question, how can someone vanish from the place they should be safest? So common patterns, their belongings were left behind, a very small time window of them disappearing, 10 to 30 minutes. And this makes me think of, and I have to look up her name, so forgive me, but there was a young woman, beautiful young woman, like in her 20s, who went to Target to get something for a birthday party. And she never came home. And the family was distraught because it wasn't like her to not attend this birthday party. And they called the police. And because Target is awesome, they were able to get video from Target. And you see this beautiful young woman shopping for the birthday wrapping paper, etc. And in the background, there is a man lurking and kind of following her around the store. She checks out. He checks out. She walks out the door, and he shortly thereafter walks out the door as well. And in the parking lot, you see her car leave the Target parking lot, and it's like, okay, she left, so how did she not come home? Well, the Target video, when you slowed it down, you could see this guy running, like crouched down, running from the aisle in the parking lot, the row behind her car. You see him running really fast to her car And then all of a sudden, a few seconds later, you see her car pull out. And what happened was he jumped in the back seat of her car and he had a pew pew and he said, drive. And she drove. And then she was never seen ever again. And I'm actually going to do a presentation probably tomorrow about safety, because it's so important. If she had an advantage that she was driving the vehicle, and unfortunately, you freeze, flight or fright or freeze. And I think she froze or went into fright and freeze, and she let him direct her. But if you're in a car and somebody's in the back seat, even if they have a pew pew, you got to keep your wits about you. You could drive erratically or just slam it right into a wall or a building, whatever. And even if you get shot, you would have to have a headshot, a heart shot, or an artery. So chances are, even if they did use the weapon, you could probably recover. And I'm telling you right now, you got to keep your wits about you and just go, all right, the best situation is that she was behind the wheel. She could just crash that car. I'm sure he didn't have a seatbelt on. Go fast, crash it. He could just go right through the windshield. And I'm going to cover a lot of other things that can be done for safety. So I'm going to do that probably tomorrow. It's very interesting. And I think that this is a good reminder that, you think you're safe, you're in your home, and things can still happen. So that's tomorrow. All right. So very small time window. These people do disappear within 10 to 30 minutes, familiar environments near home, minimal witnesses or no witnesses. Okay. Why these cases are difficult. There's very little physical evidence. Possible offender is nearby. A short timeline limits witnesses and limited media attention. And even while this Nancy Guthrie thing, the example I just gave of this general, a major general that has connections with UAPs and Roswell, he's missing, and he's been missing for over 2 weeks and nobody had heard of him. Okay. Crazy. All right, possible investigative theories. Some analysts consider predators targeting elderly women. Possible reasons: the victims live alone, predictable routines, less media coverage, they can't fight back. There is a sexual attraction. Younger men, it's very common that younger men are typically the MO of who attacks these older women. And there's also a percentage that say that if somebody comes in and removes you from the home, the percentage of opportunity of you living once you get to a second location, it decreases. Like, you have a 90% chance of not coming out of there if you get moved to a second location. And so the object of the game is to not be taken to a second location, whatever you have to do. And of course, obviously you can't control everything, but if there's anything you can do to not be taken to a second location, that seems to be how you can survive. And you've got stories like Elizabeth Smart, where she's that small 10% that was taken to a second location, and she survived. She got through it. All right, so the paused reality effect. Homes sometimes appear frozen in time, like dinner is cooking, TV is playing, purse on the table, door is open, and the person is simply gone, like they got beamed up, like literally just got beamed up. They're there, and then poof, they're just gone. So it's super eerie how people disappear in the midst of just their daily. I think there was somebody who had gotten groceries, had texted and said, yeah, I'm going to go to the grocery store, and she couldn't be reached, and somebody came over to check on her and the groceries were still on the counter. Just creepy and bizarre. All right, so this first case is Nancy Colleen Woodrum. Case overview. She lived in Paso Robles, California, age 62. She disappeared May 5th, 2018. Case was later determined to be a homicide. They actually did get the person. He confessed, and he actually took them to her body. And again, if you're just joining me, I'm outside. I'm in the Smoky Mountains, and Please remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share. And I do have new memberships. So excited. So just wanted to thank you so much for joining. So who was Nancy Woodrum? 62-year-old hairdresser, lived on a rural property near Geneseo Road in Paso Robles, runs a small salon and hosted vacation rental guests on her property, known locally as a friendly member of the community. The disappearance family became concerned when Nancy missed plans. She could not be reached by phone. Relatives checked her property and noticed suspicious signs. Authorities were contacted quickly. There was even a wedding going on at her rental that weekend, and everybody from the wedding got cleared. So suspicious evidence was found. The sliding door of her studio where she lived in a little casita was open. Vehicles and belongings were still on the property. Horses had not been fed. Blood evidence discovered inside the home, and actually her bedding was gone. And they found the bedding with blood on it several miles down the road. So they knew she was taken. Search and investigation. Search efforts included deputies and search and rescue teams. Helicopters and ground searchers were used. Investigators interviewed guests and workers connected to the property. The case shifted towards suspected homicide. Pretty early on, they had a lot more information about, what happened to her than they do Nancy, actually. Investigators focused on Carlos Alberto Fuentes Flores. He had been hired to paint Woodrum's deck shortly before she disappeared. Evidence connected him to the crime. And it's funny because they actually interviewed him early on, and he actually said that he'd seen Nancy fighting with another contractor, but didn't know what they were arguing about. So he was trying to shift attention and focus to someone else who was working on the property. Discovery of remains. In December 2018, the suspect led investigators to the remains. Location: remote rural area near Highway 58. The discovery confirmed the homicide investigation. And part of the way that they were able to catch this guy is he was married and he had his phone off, but he had been unfaithful to his wife. And while he's out at 2 a.m. in the morning, his phone was off while he was trying to go and essay Nancy Woodrum. But because he knew his wife was jealous, he turned his phone on for just a quick second to see if his wife had texted him. And that was enough for them to catch his device being in that casita at that time. And it's weird how investigators are able to see, like, with your phone, when you're sitting down, when you're standing up, when you're walking, when it goes to sleep, when you wake it up. I mean, pretty much everything you do with your phone, there is a record of it. So they were able to see exactly what he was doing. And I think that they knew they could follow his phone down the road, and especially since they found the bedding on the side of the road. But where he put her remains were off the road in a remote area. And honestly, the guy said, the investigator said, if he hadn't taken them to the remains, she may never have been found, even 100 feet off the road. And, that's why we're concerned whether or not Nancy could have her remains, if it's not on a trail that people are hiking, if it's in the middle of the desert. I mean, and even Nancy Woodrum that we're talking about, I think that her body had been decimated by, wildlife that are out there. So, but they did get her body back. So arrest and conviction. Flores was charged with red rum. The court determined the red rum occurred during a essay. He was convicted and sentenced to life in prison without parole. And pretty much once they sat him down, I think he actually had remorse. The investigator, the sheriff, actually said, yeah, he's a scumbag. But he actually had remorse, which a lot of people who are psychopaths don't. Okay. Like, Brian Kober. He doesn't have any remorse, just weird people. So why the case was disturbing: Nancy disappeared from her own rural home. Evidence suggested the attack occurred on her property. The suspect had legitimate work access to the home. And legacy of the case, Nancy Woodrum is remembered as a mother and grandmother. The case received attention across California's Central Coast. It has appeared in true crime television coverage. So that's the deepest one that I went into, but we're going to take a look at some other ones. So some key takeaways. This case began as a mysterious disappearance. Forensic evidence and investigation identified a suspect. Persistence by investigators helped bring justice for Nancy Woodrum. And it's interesting because Nancy had a son who she had a falling out with, and they questioned the son and wanted to get his DNA, and he wouldn't give his DNA, and he actually looked super suspicious. And he even said, yeah, I know I look suspicious, but I'm still not giving you my DNA. He wouldn't take a lie detector test, and it was really frustrating. But I think that they found the suspect pretty early on. I think as soon as they were able to go through the phone records, that's when they found this guy. But it's like a needle in a haystack. It takes a long time, and I think that they're still working on the phone records for Nancy Guthrie's, and it's going to take a minute. All right, Betty Jones out of Arkansas. So this, I don't have the age and everything, but these are all women over 65. So Betty Jones left her home, went for an evening dog walk. The dog returned home alone. The leash was found near the woods, and there was no evidence of remains, no idea what happened to her. She literally just disappeared. And if it's near a road, typically what will happen is somebody will pull up and grab them and throw them in the car. It's crime of opportunity is what that is. So poor Betty Jones in Arkansas was never found. Patricia Viola, New Jersey in 2001. She vanished from home while her husband was out. Belongings were still inside the house. A severed foot washed ashore in Queens in 2002, and the DNA confirmed it was Patricia in 2012. No suspect charged. Yikes. And the husband was cleared. That's yucky. Yuck. All right, Dorothy Forstein in Philadelphia in 1949 disappeared from home while her husband was out. Children reported seeing a man carrying her down the stairs. He told the child, go back to sleep. No physical evidence, no confirmed suspect. So this is one of the older ones I found. And then Nancy Guthrie, of course, that we're on this one, vanished from her home overnight, possible blood evidence outside. Suspicious activity on nearby doorbell cameras. No indication she planned to leave. Investigation is ongoing. Peggy McGuire, Pennsylvania, 2010. She went outside to check her animals and never returned. There were tracks found near the property. No struggle observed. Dogs lost scent near roadway. Possible vehicle pickup. Yep, just like I said, you know, they'll follow the scent to a road, and then all of a sudden it'll just end. And yep, they're just, it's like someone just picks them up, puts them in a vehicle, drives off. And again, that's why it's so important that if there's anything you can do, you got to keep your wits about you. If there's anything you can do, jump out of a moving car, kick the driver, kick the horn, wave your hand. I don't know, because if you go from one location and are taken to a second location, again, there's about a 90% chance you're not going to survive. So if you're not going to survive anyway, you have nothing to lose during that car ride of messing that guy up. Stick your fingers in his eyeballs, you know, kick him in the head, whatever you have to do. It's just keeping your wits about you and just staying, you know, calm and just know what you have to do. And unless somebody specifically says this is what you should do or can do or think about, nobody knows what to do. You know, you freeze because you're terrified. And of course you are, but you have to do whatever you can do to not be taken to a second location. All right, Linda Stubblefield in Oregon left home to run an errand. This is the one, the groceries were inside. She texted somebody and said, I'm going to go get groceries. She didn't show up. Her car was there. Groceries were left on the counter, purse and wallet, and car's there, just disappears. Blanche Hester from California went to collect mail. disappeared within minutes. Residents noticed suspicious vehicle earlier. Driver was never identified. And I think that's it. That is it. So anyway, it does happen, and it's crazy how things can happen that you don't even realize so quickly. I had another vehicle. This one, I think that Historically Correct had commented that JLR is reporting that Annie's and the son-in-law's car has been returned. And we talked about the Air Force general that is missing, and the FBI is in on that one. And Sheriff Nanos says he believes that Nancy was targeted, which we kind of knew that. We're just not sure exactly why she was targeted, what the objective was. And FBI is going back to the restaurant where Savannah had done that Today segment, and the FBI is interviewing everybody who works there and did work there on that day, just asking if there was any odd behavior by anybody starstruck or fixated on Savannah, and all that good stuff. So I think it's really interesting that tells me if they're going to the restaurant and talking to people, that tells me that they're definitely leaving their options open as far as who could have done this. Maybe that tells us that they don't know who the guy is. I think it's a good thing that they are looking into what happened that day at the restaurant when they were filming the segment. There absolutely could be a connection. I thought early on that, and a lot of people talked about it, it's not just me, I'm not taking credit for anything, but there's speculation that, Savannah probably looked back at that segment that she did and probably regretted, because, you think that you're doing something nice and you're bringing someone into your family and you're getting them to meet your beautiful mother and talking about your childhood in Tucson, and you're doing that because you think it's entertaining and people are interested in your life and things kind of behind the curtain, behind the veil. You don't realize that you're putting your loved ones at risk, because we just don't think about what could come of this, what could actually happen. So it's very unfortunate, and it's hard to say if anybody was connected to that day, but I'm glad that the FBI is interviewing those folks, and I'm glad that they're definitely looking into it. I have to suspect that if somebody who worked at the restaurant is involved in this, that they probably saw the connection between Savannah and the mother living there. They know Savannah has a lot of money, and they could have hatched the idea of, oh my gosh, Savannah's got a lot of money. I need money. I'm a slime ball. Let me just nab the mom and I'll get money from Savannah. And then something bad happens when they actually put the plan into place, and something happens bad with the mom. And, we still don't know if the early ransom notes were connected to the actual, what I call the Walmart Wrangler with all his beautiful Walmart gear. We still don't know if any of those ransom notes really were from him, but the fact that they could not give proof of life meant that if that was their plan and they were trying to get money out of the Guthries, that it fell apart when they couldn't do proof of life, which is, of course, part of the playbook from Kidnap for Ransom, which is just odd that I think we know more about Kidnap for Ransom now than anybody ever wanted to know. So if you're just joining me again, I am in the beautiful Smoky Mountains. The sun has come out. I think I'm going to go take the kid and do a tour today. It's actually really beautiful out. The weather is stunning. Things are starting to get green. I'm literally right up against the Smoky Mountains. So I hope everybody is enjoying their spring break or going to do something fun for their spring break. So I am going to be back tomorrow. Same location. I am going to be doing a presentation on things that you can do if somebody has, come into your home, things that you can do to prevent people from coming into your home, things you could do if you're taken in a car. So I'm going to do kind of a safety presentation tomorrow. Today, I wanted to focus on some of these other cases that are similar to Nancy's, but have gone unsolved. Probably going to keep an eye on this general McCasland and his story, because, he's got secrets, and you have to wonder if there's something nefarious that's going on with him. If there's a group trying to put together some disclosure, and I think President Trump had just talked about releasing some files on UAPs and whatnot. And I think Obama had mentioned, somebody had asked him if when he was president, if he, found out if there are UAPs. And I think he indicated that there are. And I think people, which is weird, I think people probably know that there are UAPs or wouldn't be surprised. And if you're listening to this, put a 1 in the comments if you personally believe that there are beings from another planet that come and visit us, if there's UAPs that we can't explain, UFOs. Put a 2 if you don't think that there are UFOs. So I'm very interested to see what people are thinking about. And I'm going to stay on this general story because I can't believe that I hadn't heard about it until just like a day or two ago. I can't believe that one didn't trump the Nancy Guthrie case. It hasn't gotten more TV time in the media, which is just really weird. They've been doing searches in the area in Albuquerque and everything. So again, if you believe that we're being visited by other beings, put a 1 in the comment box. If you don't think that there are little spacemen amongst us, put a 2. I'm very interested to see what you think. And I'm always asking people, if you have a different theory on what could have happened in Nancy Guthrie, share it in the comments. I would love to hear. You guys have some really good ideas. Again, true crimers are super smart. You are critical thinkers. You're logical. And I've heard some really good ones. So again, thank you so much for joining me today at Crime Crunchies. I am Courtney C. I am 27 years in the media. I have some new memberships, some new beautiful super stickers. Please subscribe. I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. It helps my algorithm. I am a new channel. I'm going to be at CrimeCon. If you're going to be at CrimeCon, let me know. I can't wait to go there. So please subscribe and like. It's completely free. And join me again very soon for more live content. I will be back while I'm in the Smoky Mountains. I will be coming back and spending my vacation with all y'all. So thank you so much for being Crime Crunchies, and I will catch you on the flip side. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.